Speaking of which, yes, tomorrow is math week for you.
Can't wait.
Do not forget.
It's important, boys and girls.
And
Is
the
it the
last
last math
one.
week?
Oh, wait, that means the kids are coming.
That is that's
Probably
right.
not.
So,
You're going to everyone. Extra.
This is Kenya from the Mobile Go Away.
well, you need to probably go see the doctor.
Why would it go away though?
I don't know because he's going to do it. All right. So, up to this point, everything that you have done in terms of graphing has been on the what we call the Cartesian coordinate plane. It is also called the rectangular coordinate system because when you look at your graph paper, it is made up of a bunch of rectangles. When we plot a point in the rectangular system, we use x comma y, and that means starting at this point, which is called the origin, we count left or right, and then up or down. So it's very rectangular, horizontal and vertical, right? So if I said let's plot the point 3 comma 1, you would count over 3 and up 1, right? Well, today we are introducing a different coordinate system. It is called the polar coordinate system, and it is a circular system, okay? Now, I've got some paper. I'll give you some paper so you don't have to try to draw that grid.
Yeah, something like that.
All right, we'll just pass the paper around, and would everybody,
Something like that.
oh, I just cut myself.
Well, we can take a break.
Would everybody just take a couple of sheets? Just take a couple of sheets and pass them on. This is your polar graph paper.
I'm doing good polar graph.
Now, in the polar coordinate system, you're still going to be plotting points. But when you plot the points, it won't be over and up. It won't be x and y. It will be r and theta. In other words, when we talk about the point, and I'm now on my note sheets, 2 comma 2 pi over 3. That means 2 comma, wait, pi is 180, 120. So that's the point, 2 comma 120 degrees. What that means is, get on the circle with a radius of 2, and your graph paper's coming around. Get on the circle with a radius of 2 and go 120 degrees. So, you can take 1 or 2 pieces and then pass it on. So you're taking 1 or 2 pieces and passing it on. So if I am going to plot the point 2 comma 120, I'm going to get on the circle that has a radius. The first coordinate is the radius. I'm going to get on the circle with a radius of 2, and I'm going to go 120 degrees. So everything's labeled for you on your graph paper. So that point would be plotted, the second circle out. Oh, wait a minute, the second circle out, 120 degrees. So instead of plotting it with an X and a Y, I am plotting it with a radius and an angle. So 2 comma 120 is right there. You should be able to plot that on your paper, 2 comma 120. Now, your job in your notes is to take this R and this theta and convert it into an x and a y. Okay? Now, believe it or not, you already know how to do this. Because if I take this guy off of the circular grid and graph it like it was on your quest, it had a radius of 2, a magnitude of 2, and an angle of 120. Your job is to find the x and the y. We know how to do that. You did that, hopefully, on your quest. What did you do? You found this angle and it was 60, right? And you said cosine 60 equals x over 2, and sine 60 equals y over 2. So, what did you type into your calculator? 2 cosine 60. So, 2 cosine 60, which is 1. And 2 sine 60, which is 1.73. Now, what did you have to remember to do when we did this? You had to remember your signs, right? Your negatives. So when you look at this situation over here, you would say x is negative. You just changed that polar ordered pair, right here, this is what you started with, you changed that into an x and a y. The directions say write as a change to rectangular coordinates. That's what you did. Rectangular is x and y. So you simply drew the picture like you always do, did your trigonometry, and found the answer. Now, who looked at the assignment for the vectors 6-1 to 6-3? Does anybody remember what it said? What was the very last thing on that assignment? To memorize something. Do you remember what it asked you to memorize? They're called the conversion equations. And if you memorize the conversion equations, you're going to do this problem a whole lot easier. Because the conversion equations say x equals r cosine and y equals r sine.
Wait, how did you know to draw a triangle?
Because the angle was 120. Yeah. Now, here's what I want you to do real quick. I want you to forget about all this stuff we just did. And I want you to type into your calculator, here's your r, here's your theta. I want you to type in 2 cosine 120. What does it say if you type 2 cosine 120? Interesting. What does it say if you type 2 sine 120? No, it doesn't say error.
1.7.
So, in other words, using my conversion equations with no picture, no worry about negatives and positives, the answer came out to be this. Is that the same answer I got when I did it the long way? Well, that's the same as the square root of 3. Is that the same answer I got when I did it the long way? Yes. So what's the moral of the story? When you have to change, let's look at B. When you have to change from polar to rectangular, so we are starting with r comma theta, and you are going to give me an x and a y. Use your conversion equations, and you can't go wrong. You cannot mess this up. x will equal -3 cosine 135, and y equals -3 sine 135. We type it in our calculator, and we get our answer. We don't worry about pluses and minuses. The equations take care of it all. They're wonderful. They just take care of it. So -3 cosine 135, 2.12, -3 sine 135, -2.12. And there's the answer to the question. That's all there is to it. Your job in this first section now, we're starting with polar coordinates. So we have an R and a theta. And we're changing those into rectangular coordinates, which are x, y. And to do that, we're going to use these two, they're called conversion equations, because they convert you from polar into rectangular. All right, let's try the next one. 1,317. Now remember, this is R and this is theta. So what will x equal? Use your formula. What will x equal? R cosine theta.
0.73.
And y will equal r sine theta. So yeah, I don't know what those are. Yep, 0.73 is your x. And negative 0.68 is your y. Notice my calculator is taking care of everything. All I have to do is remember the formula. All I have to do is remember the formula and plug in my r and my theta. All right, one more. What are we probably going to have to do with D?
Put it in degrees.
Probably change it to degrees, yeah. So 4, 5 pi over 6. 4, all right, 5 pi over 6. Let's change it. Pi is 180. Divided by 6 is 30. Times 5 is 150. So your polar ordered pair is 4, 150. Your job is to find x and y. So how are we going to find x and y? Use our formulas. And our formulas are x equals, well, r cosine theta for this problem will be 4 cosine 150. And y will be 4 sine 150. So 4 cosine 150, negative 3.46. And 4 sine 150, 2. Now, don't forget, your answer is an ordered pair. So negative 3.46, 2. How do we change from polar into rectangular? Right there, in that box. If you want to change from polar to rectangular, that's what you use right there every time. Okay? Now, if you look at the next set of problems, it's backwards. The next set of problems says, what if we start with rectangular? So what if we start with an x of 1 and a y of 2? That's what we've got here. This is x comma y. And you need to find an r and a theta. This isn't quite so easy, but you already know how to do it. This is r.
Oh, it's square root of 2.
What's r?
Square root of 2.
Yeah, it's your magnitude. R is the same as the magnitude. It's this right here. So what's that length? What is that length? No, it's not the square
It looks
root.
like, is that, I thought that was
No, that's not a special right
Oh,
triangle. Square root of 5. Oh my gosh. The radius is the square root of 5. So in other words, to find r, you're basically just finding the magnitude. Pythagorean theorem. This is theta. Could we figure out theta? You don't get the lead until we figure this out. It is not a special right triangle. Oh, listen to Brittany. She says, look, I need an angle, and every time I need an angle, I second something. She says, maybe I should second tangent 2 over 1. Because the tangent of that angle is 2 over 1. 63.43, Sean says. Now, stop talking and listen to me. Those of you that took the quest, you just did that problem. Because what we just found, I am now calling r and theta, because I'm in that part of the chapter. But on the quest you just took, it was called the magnitude and the direction angle. The math is exactly the same. You're just putting it now in an ordered pair. Right? Okay. So we will pick up there.
Can't wait for math on Wednesday.
When we do our graphic.
Okay, and another question.
All right.